Hello everyone, my name is AndrewAJT, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the OSRS economy and some problems that it might just be experiencing. Now, I'm not an expert on the old school economy because there's no such thing, nor am I an expert on the real life economy, which this video has nothing to do with, but I think there have been some problems with the OSRS economy, so in this video, I want to take a closer look at what might be causing them. Now, before we talk about the problems, I do want to say there's really not too much to be worried about because the economy of this game is not as important as people think it is. It's really just about keeping the game fair and fun for everyone as far as prices and the GE and selling and buying things and all that. But when you really think about it, your character is not going to starve or something if there's a bad economy in the game. You're not going to lose your POH, or it's not going to become impossible to train your skills. Even in the absolute worst case scenario, you could always play the game similar to an Iron Man, where you get everything you need by yourself. It just might make it a little bit harder to buy bonds or maybe the gear that you want to use, or maybe it's harder to make GP in the game. So overall, you shouldn't be worried. The economy of the game is not that important, but it does affect some things. So one thing that I noticed recently and I posted about was the fact that bond prices have been going up pretty steadily, and they actually peaked really high recently. They were almost 6 mil, which is very, very high. You can see here on GE Tracker that they have gone up around 2 mil or so in the last year. Now, they are volatile, so it depends on where you look at it, but overall the trend line has gone pretty steadily upwards if you look at the big picture. And I think this is an issue because so many people rely on bonds for membership, and if you want 45 days of membership, you have to buy around 3 bonds, so that costs you over 15 mil right now, which is very, very expensive, and you have to make that 15 mil back and hopefully more in that 45 days, which is not super hard to do. But if you're someone like me, for example, who doesn't play a lot every day, maybe you work or you don't have a lot of time, this can actually add up quite a bit. That comes out to around 121 mil per year, which for lower and medium level players, and even for some high level players, that's a big deal. You can mitigate it somewhat with things like the Varrock Battle Stabs, which is like free GP every day, if you think about it, but it still really adds up, and those aren't as good as they used to be. Unlike the bonds, they have gone down actually in the past 6 months. Now, I wouldn't have such a big problem with bond prices going up if it wasn't for so many other prices going down, and it seems like GP is actually becoming harder to make in the game in some ways. One example is the Fremenic rings have gone down. So for example, the Berserker ring used to be around 3.5 mil around 6 months ago, which really wasn't that long ago. This place in general used to be one of the best money makers in the game, but now the prices have dropped significantly, and it's still decent GP an hour, but it's really not nearly as good as it used to be. The Archer's ring has dropped even more, and the Dagonoth King bones have recovered a little bit, but even they used to be worth more going back a few years ago. Now, it would be one thing if it was just Dagonoth Kings that were declining in terms of a GP maker, because that does happen with things. The game evolves. Certain things are not in demand like they used to be, and the best moneymakers in the game do change, and this is okay. But the thing is, a lot of prices have gone down. Look at the Dragon Warhammer, it's completely crashed. There's some resources that have gone down, like the Blood Runes. There's God Wars items that have gone down. There are Raids items that have gone down. So, in general, the GP per hour that you can make in the game has gone down in many departments. It's really hard to generalize with all prices, but many of them have gone down and are not as good GP per hour anymore. But the bond prices have continued to go up. So I think this is a problem because it's almost like an inverse curve or something, where the cost of a bond keeps going up, 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 but the ability to make the GP to buy that bond has gone down, so it really compounds the problem. Another issue with this is it's harder for free-to-play players to buy a bond to become a member for the first time, unless they just want to pay for membership, because it's really hard to earn 5 mil in free-to-play. You used to be able to maybe collect cowhides or something, or do something like that, cut trees, logs or something to be able to afford membership, but now, with the bond prices so high, it's very, very hard to do that in free-to-play as far as I know. And once you even become a member, if you can save up enough, it's not that easy to earn 5 mil in your first 2 weeks of membership to be able to buy more bonds. It's not impossible, but it's definitely harder than it used to be. Now, the big question is, why is this happening? Why have bond prices gone up? And In that post, people offered a bunch of different reasons. Some of them were just simply that maybe more people are playing this time of year. It's getting colder, people are staying inside, they want to play more RuneScape, so they're buying bonds. That could be a factor. Also, some people said maybe there are some very wealthy people in the game that are buying and hoarding bonds in large quantities, which could be a problem as well. But one of the most common things that people brought up is the free-to-play trial for mobile, where you can get 14 days of free membership, has expired. So now if you want to bot, and you shouldn't bot because you'll get banned for it, and it's against the game rules, but there are bots that are forced to now buy bonds, and this is a very big deal because the bot doesn't really care if it has to buy a bond, because the bot can go earn all that GP back by cheating and botting and just botting their money making. And this really hurts the economy for people who are trying to play fairly without botting like me and you, because the bots are literal computer robots that can drive up prices and make bonds more expensive for all of us. So perhaps if the bot detection systems improved and more bots were to be banned, then the bond prices could go down again. But I don't know if that will happen. I don't know what's going to happen with bond prices over the next few years. We can only talk about what has happened in the past and evaluate based on that. But perhaps the Jagex systems will be improved a little bit, and maybe these bots can have less of an impact on the economy. Now, funnily enough, the most stable I ever remember the RuneScape economy being was back in the trade limit days, pre-EOC. Now, I don't think the trade limit was the right decision at all, but it does give us an interesting time period to look back on in a world basically without bots, because the main reason there are a lot of bots in the game is because they real-world trade, and because free trade was gone, there was no way to do this anymore, and a lot of bots stopped botting, and they basically had less of an impact on the game economy. And the economy was pretty good as far as I remember. It was pretty easy to make money in the game. Prices were high, but it was also reasonable, and it just felt like there wasn't really any problems. Again, this is going back 10 years ago, so I don't have exact memory, and I know that time makes the heart grow fonder a little bit, but I just remember it being by far the best time in the game for the RuneScape economy, back when it felt like bots were almost a non-factor. Now, there are some other issues that are probably worth mentioning as well. For example, many items in the game don't have an item sync. So for example, if everyone in the game has a Berserker ring, then the price of Berserker rings are going to go down because there will be less and less people needing them. So maybe when mobile came out, there was a spike in prices because more people needed these items, but now that everyone has one, there isn't necessarily a need for them. So there could be more item syncs in the game to really fix some of these issues perhaps. It's also possible that the inflation of GP has an effect. For example, there are many monsters in the game that drop alchable items like Revenants or Vorkath. I think new monsters going forward should work more like they used to, where instead of having a consistent 2 or 3 mil per hour of alchable item drops, you should be able to not get those items and instead have a chance of something big. For example, at Armadillo, you're not going to really make money from the average drop because there's really nothing to alch, but instead you have that chance of that big drop like an Armadillo chestplate, and that doesn't really contribute to inflation because you're not going to alch Armadillo items probably. So I really prefer bosses that are kind of all or nothing rather than Vorkath, where it's consistent money without that big chance of something exciting happening for the most part. So I know this video wasn't very definitive about what's actually happening. I just wanted to have a discussion about what is exactly going on and why it might be happening and what could be done about it. But I don't know what's going to happen with the old school economy. Again, it's not the end of the world no matter what happens, but there are some probable reasons for it and things that could be done about it. In the meantime, I'm just going to PK as many bots as I possibly can, but I don't think that will make much of a difference. And it's not like Jagex is not doing anything about bots, of course they are, but for as long as this game has existed, there has always been a tug of war between the bot clients and Jagex about the bot clients trying to become undetectable and Jagex eventually finding a way to detect them and them making new clients, and it just goes back and forth. The one thing that is certain is that if you bot, you will most likely be caught eventually, so do not bot for your own sake and for the game economy's sake. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is there other reasons this is all happening? Will bond prices go up or down? and maybe there's some reasons that I'm missing. Some people even said that maybe just because Group Ironman was announced that a lot of people are buying bonds in advance of that. That could be a reason, who knows, maybe there's other reasons as well. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed, that really helps out the channel. Would really appreciate that if you enjoyed this video or if you agreed with anything I said or both. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to see my future videos. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications whenever I upload every week. You can join my clan chat in game AndrewAJT62, that'll be up on screen. You can join our Discord server down below, even if you can't join the clan chat. You can follow me on Twitter down below at AndrewAJT, and I'll follow you back if you play RS. And you can check out my Patreon page if you want to support the channel even further. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.